have it.
Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey, at 7:30 PM on the evening of Tuesday, November 1st, 2016, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and to transact any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, October 27th, 2016, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, can we have a roll call?
Mark Friedman. Brendan Gallagher.
Here.
Rob Garrison.
Here.
Chris Leonhardt.
Here.
Ginny Lights.
Here.
Gretchen Olid.
Here.
Peggy Oster. Here. Charles Ostroff. Amy Ruth.
Here. Brendan, can you lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll start with announcements. Amy, do you have any announcements?
I do, I have two. The first is about perfect SAT scores. Westfield High School has been notified that 20 students achieved perfect scores in June 2016 on the SAT standardized test widely used for college admission criteria. The SAT high scorers include Madeline Armstrong in Math 2, Owen Bartok in Math 2, Evan Binder in Math 2, Lucas Karianopoulos, Math 2, Sumin Chung, Biology, Quinn Clark McGrath, Molecular Biology, Stefan Kriegler, Math 2, Olivia Hamilton, Chemistry and French, Michael Haig, Chemistry and Math 2, Max Kleiman Lynch, Math 2, Ryan Murphy, Chemistry and Math 2, Cindy Chiang, Math 2, Noah Reich, Math 2, Nicholas Youssef, Biology, Fiona Gillespie, Math 2, Rachel Hay, Math 2, Kenneth Meyer, Math 2, and Junlin Lee, Math 2. Nicholas Marr for U.S. History, and Jack Meiselman for Math 2. And then, my second list, but this one's shorter. Perfect ACT scores. Westfield High School announced that 7 students each achieved the highest score of 36 on the ACT standardized test widely used for college admission and placement criteria. The scores were earned in either June or September of 2016 by current seniors Eli Burke for English, Haley Casco for English, Hannah Siegel for Mathematics, Rafaela Laitamaki for Reading, Mathematics, STEM, and English, Sumin Chung for Mathematics, English, and Reading, John Sanders for Mathematics, and Eleanor Scott for English and Reading.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Brendan.
This is from the intermediate schools. In keeping with Westfield School District's goal of encouraging coping skills and resiliency, on Friday, October 14th, Roosevelt and Edison Intermediate Schools heard an inspiring presentation from Mark Merrow, the former WWE wrestling champion, entitled Champion of Choices. His presentation was conveyed a message of resilience as he reminded the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to believe in themselves as they make choices in their lives. The author of How to Be the Happiest Person on the Planet described how he reached the pinnacle of sports entertainment success, then lost it all, but in the process discovered what's most important in life. In facing adversity, Merrow explained, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up.
Thank you. My 8th grader, who says usually like 3-4 words a day, couldn't stop talking about it, so it clearly made an impression. Great. Rob, do you have a...
I do have two. The Westfield High School Theater Department proudly presents Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet on Thursday, November 17th at 4 p.m., and Friday, November 18th, and Saturday, November 19th at 7:30 p.m. Contemporary set and costume design lend a fresh, modern-day feel to the classic story. Tickets for Romeo and Juliet can be purchased at www.whstd.booktix.com or at the door on the day of the show. All performances will be held in the auditorium of Westfield High School, located at 550 Dorian Road. My second announcement is the Westfield High School Community Service Fundraiser. As the leaves begin to fall, the Westfield High Community Service Club announces its annual leaf raking fundraiser. This year's fundraising will support a local family in need. Students are available to rake leaves and take donations on Saturdays and Sundays through November 20th. If you're interested, please reach out to Faculty Advisor Warren Hines at whines, WHYNES, at westfieldnjk12.org. Thank you.
Chris?
Yes, this relates to our athletic teams. Congratulations to our champion athletic teams. On Friday night at the Union County Finals at Kane University, the Westfield boys varsity soccer team captured the county title against Scotch Plains Fanwood High School. And the Westfield High School varsity field hockey team won the Union Essex Blue Division Conference title Wednesday, October 26th by defeating Governor Livingston 2-1. It was the first conference title for the Blue Devils since 1977. And for the first time since 2013, both the Westfield High School varsity boys and girls cross-country teams captured the Union County Championships, defeating Union Catholic for the title. It is the boys' 10th championship win since 2005 and the girls' second in 4 years. Both JV teams also won, along with the freshman boys team. On a side note, we are so proud of the good sportsmanship of these runners. We have learned that coaches from 2 different schools this season have expressed appreciation to the girls' cross-country team for coming to the aid of their competitors who either were injured or off course. In addition, Blue Devils parents and girl runners are in the process of initiating a charity which would help defray the cost of running shoes for individual student athletes in school districts within the athletic conference. Jen Busino, our cross-country coach, remarked, "Just thought it would be nice for you to hear about the good stuff that happens. Stuff that has nothing to do with winning or losing, just being a good citizen." So congratulations to those teams and for their good efforts.
I do, but I want to add that we're sitting on pins and needles, hoping that the Westfield High School football team continues its unbeaten streak as it goes against, I don't know who. Friday.
Scotch Plains Fanwood this
Oh,
week.
Scotch Plains Fanwood, okay.
Last regular season game on Saturday.
So, it's all good news, doing well with our teams. And in the news, an article by Dr. Dolan entitled "Preparing Students for an Ever-Changing World" appears in the October issue of On Target, the online publication of New Jersey education administrators. Featured in the Curriculum Corner section of the publication, Dr. Dolan describes the Westfield High School Social Studies curriculum, which we heard about at our last meeting, created for 9th graders enrolled in Global Perspectives. The innovative endeavor entitled the Adopt a Country Project has earned teacher Kimberly Legan the 2016 Krista McAuliffe Reach for the Stars Award. This award is presented to only one teacher in the country each year. Dr. Dolan draws a parallel with the curriculum and the district's mission statement that concludes with, quote, "To educate all students to reach their highest potential as productive, well-balanced, and responsible citizens who respect individual differences and diversity in an ever-changing world." And we continue to congratulate Kimberly Legan on this very prestigious award. And I have 2 additional notes from Westfield High School. Next Wednesday, no, 2 Wednesdays. November 16th, the Special Services Department and the Westfield High School Counseling Department will hold an informative panel on college planning for students with IEPs and 504 plans. It will be held in Cafeteria B at Westfield High School from 7 to 9 p.m. It's Wednesday, November 16th. The following evening, Thursday, November 17th, from 7 to 9 p.m., Westfield High School will host more than 140 colleges and universities at its annual College Night. This event gives students and their parents an opportunity to gather information about colleges and universities nationwide. The college representatives will be in Westfield High School's varsity gym, Gym 5, Cafeteria B. A list of colleges and universities that will be in attendance are posted on the Department of Counseling's website and will be updated closer to the event. So that's 2 very important evenings for parents and students.
Thank you. Peggy?
Thank you.
Yes, I'd just like to remind everybody to remember to vote in both the general election and the school board election on Tuesday, November 8th. The video of the board's Education Candidates Night will be shown on the school district's website, as well as WHS TV 36, beginning on Thursday, November 3rd. The actual Candidates Night is tomorrow evening at the high school. 4 candidates are on the ballot for 3 seats on the Westfield Board of Education, each with a 3-year term. They include Michael Beelan, Brendan Galligan, Ginny Lights, and Amy Root. And I wish them all the best of luck. I also move on to my favorite announcement. All Westfield Public Schools will be closed on Thursday, November 10th and Friday, November 11th for Teacher Professional Days. There will be early dismissal for grades K through 5 on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, November 7th, 8th, and 9th, to allow for parent conferences and curriculum planning.
Thank you. The next Board of Ed meeting will be held on Tuesday, November 15th at 7:30. A complete agenda will be available on the Board of Ed website on the preceding Friday, November 11th. At this point, do you have any announcements?
I do not.
Sorry. I'd like to recognize the public for agenda items only. Seeing no one come to the podium, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Dolan.
Thank you. The state of New Jersey has a system for monitoring all public schools in the state. It has the name of, it is called New Jersey Quality Single Accountability Continuum, which is fondly known as NJQSAC. They've changed and they've modified some of the rules for QSAC this go-around. QSAC has existed for many years, and I'm going to reference what some of the changes, because for those who have either been on the board for a while or watch our meetings, things have changed just a bit, and if you're used to a different system, I just want to explain why the changes. So 2 years ago, the department established a differentiated review process for districts that were designated as high-performing. And if districts that had received a placement score of 80% or greater in the 5 basic areas of QSAC are eligible to apply for an equivalency waiver from the department. So that's the new system, basically, and it's a multi-step process. The first step is what we're doing tonight, and that is asking the board for approval for our scores in 5 specific areas. That is then sent to the state. They review all of that information we send, and they also review all the data that they already have, because as you can imagine, much is submitted electronically to the state during the course of the year. Many reports are required. They have all our assessment data, et cetera. So they review that as well. Based on our score of what we're submitting tonight and all that other data, then they come back to us and let us know whether we will qualify to apply for a QSAC equivalency, is what it's called. So this is something like step 1 or 2 that we're doing tonight, and there is yet one more step that will come once we hear back from the state. So just briefly, what we're required to do is look at the 5 key components of school district effectiveness, which include instruction and program, fiscal management, governance, operations, and personnel. And to give you some examples of what we're required to check and report on. So in instruction and programs, they check to make sure that we have publicly presented the results of state assessments and graduation data. Regular viewers will know that we did that just last meeting. They also check to make sure that our curricula is up to date and in line with current standards for all courses from pre-K all the way through our high school courses. Under fiscal management, some of what they look for includes are our capital projects based on long-range facility plans? Or do we have at least semi-monthly review of budget status? Are we following all the regulations for the various state and federal grants? Under governance, they're checking to make sure that the board establishes policies and procedures for educational programs and state mandates. And policies is always a section of our agendas each week here, or every time we have a meeting here. And we certainly have an active policy committee on the board. We're required to make sure all requirements for annual organization meeting are met, which we do. Then the board also is required to approve all personnel appointments and transfers, as well as monthly board secretary and treasurer's reports, which again we do regularly. Some of the items under operations, we're required to make sure that all the data that's submitted to the state is submitted on time with an error rate of less than 2%. I will proudly say the last few times we've been at 0% with errors. We are required to provide trainings as required by law. Required for many, we have many requirements for reporting violence, vandalism, substance abuse, and harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And we also are required to approve and implement a health nursing services plan, which we do each year, and it happens to be on the agenda this evening as well. And under personnel, we're required that all employees undergo criminal history background checks, and we're required to follow state laws regarding annual evaluations for teaching staff members, which we do as well. So we reviewed all the requirements as submitted to us by the state, and in all of the areas this year, we were at 100%. So that is what is on the agenda for the board approval today, and that is what is then submitted to the state. They review it again, and then also, as I mentioned before, review other data, and then they will let us know what the next step will be for the Westfield Public Schools. And that approval is under the finance section, item number 4.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Dolan?
Is this the first time we're at all 100%?
No, actually, there have been other years for this.
This is
This-
an abridged version of what we used to do.
Yes, and it's called Statement of Assurances, yes, as opposed to, there's another, which are called SOAs, of course. And then there's another form, which is the one that committees have to review, and those are called DPRs.
If there isn't an acronym, it doesn't count.
Exactly.
Right.
And hopefully no one's going to ask me what DPR is, because at the moment I don't remember. But, so for SOAs,
Yes.
we have had 100% before. Yes, it is very good, and glad that the state is looking to differentiate, and I will let you know when we hear back with them. We'll submit this to them, and then we'll hear back.
Good.
Good.
And does this have a, how does this affect the timing of our next review?
If the state review says we can apply for an equivalency, that would extend our state board approval for another 3 years.
Good.
Any questions from the public? Great. We'll move on. I'd like to ask the board to approve the minutes of our board meeting held on October 18th, 2016, and private minutes of the same date. Can I have a second, please? Amy, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
On the regular minutes, I missed the private meeting, so I'll abstain on that.
And Dana, I have to abstain on both.
At this point, I'd like to ask the board to approve the following resolution. Resolve that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing legal matters, and resolve that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second?
Second.
Ginny, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're gonna move into private session. I apologize, I have to ask you all to step into the hallway. I think it will be relatively brief, and then we'll move back into public. Thank you. Straight to personnel items. In Mark's absence, I'd ask the board to consider personnel items 1 through 26. Item 6, well, there are some addendums and then additional items through 26 at your table tonight. Can I have a second, please? Ginny, thank you. Before we vote, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Dolan.
Yes, I'd like to highlight personnel item number 19, which is I'm requesting the appointment of Dr. Tiffany Jacobson as the new Supervisor of Language Arts for kindergarten through 12th grade. And I'd like to just speak a little bit about Dr. Jacobson. So Dr. Jacobson comes to us with experience as a teacher, as a literacy coach, as a supervisor, and also as an adjunct professor at the university level. And I mentioned she was a teacher. She was also the county teacher of the year, and I think that was 2011 in Hudson County. So she comes with quite a bit of very good experience. Additionally, she served as a member of the English Language Arts Subcommittee for the New Jersey Department of Education Standards Review process. She's been involved in curricular mapping of the K-8 balanced literacy curriculum, and similar to us, within the context of Integrated Readers and Writers Workshop. She has integrated educational technology for the purposes of modification and redefinition of information. She comes to us with a great deal of experience in areas that really match our needs here in Westfield. The process to select Dr. Jacobson was completed by a committee headed by both Mr. Panera and Barbara Ball, including teachers and supervisors representing all of our levels. We're very pleased I'm very pleased to be recommending her this evening and ask for the board's approval.
Thank you. Any questions on personnel items? If not, Dana?
Brendan Gallagher?
Yes.
Robert Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Langhart,
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Peggy Astor,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Great, congratulations. Would you like to come up and say a few words?
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Dolan, board members, Mr. Pinero, Mrs. Ball, fellow educators, and members of the Westfield community. It is with deep gratitude and humility that I accept the position of English Language Arts Supervisor for the district. My 14 years of experience in public education has afforded me with a wide variety of experiences, as Dr. Dolan had mentioned just a few moments ago. So it is with great excitement that I join this distinguished group of educators and commit myself to collaborating with teachers, administrators, parents, and other members of the Westfield community to ensure that our students continue to reach their highest potential. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, facilities, Brendan.
Yes. Brief update. Out of our 9 varsity teams, currently we have 7 that are ranked in the top 20. And to facilitate their practice schedules as they prepare for the state tournaments, we're going to have practice temporary lights at Kaler Fields during the month of November for our varsity teams only. No games will be played, and only WHS teams will participate. At our next board meeting, no, sorry, not the next board meeting, the second full board meeting on December 6th, the Westfield Soccer Association has requested to present a request for temporary lights for spring 2017. So we'll hear from them on the 6th, and our next committee meeting is on Friday, December 2nd.
Great. Any facilities projects that we need to report on? Nothing?
We have a meeting tomorrow on the solar project. It's the first job meeting, so we'll have a better schedule
Oh, good.
tomorrow.
Great.
That's it.
Any questions for Brendan? I don't know if that's why you're here. If so, then you're welcome. I didn't realize it would be an agenda item, otherwise I would have let you come forth, but it seems timely. If you want to come now to address the board, that would be great. Just name and address.
Yep, yeah, I know the
Yeah,
problem.
you're a pro, right? Thank you.
Unfortunately, yeah. Hi, Greg Lemberg, 528 Grove Street in Westfield. Yeah, I was surprised a bit, maybe a week or so ago, when one of our neighbors sent us a copy of a letter that he had received in his mail slot or mailbox, whatever, announcing this program that Brendan just mentioned. Apparently not all the neighborhood, certainly we did not receive any sort of prior notification. Some people did and some people didn't. So it's a bit unclear as to what the intent of the program was. I mean, I saw the lights tonight, so now I know it's 3 lights, and I know what the orientation of them are and all that stuff. So it was also unclear in the notice whether Sandy is the appropriate contact for any concerns or issues, or what the right vehicle should be, to address anything that might be wrong. From our perspective, I mean, I have the dubious honor of being the spokesperson for the Kaler Neighborhood Association. There's 24 households that are part of that association. And so basically, all the things that our attorney had brought up in the spring in the letter that was sent to the board were never really addressed, at least not back to him. I know there was one meeting where you had a short statement about the town and the board attorney having said, in their opinion, not an issue. We don't see that, we don't share that opinion, but there was never a formal response back, to our attorney. So it was really a surprise to suddenly see 20-odd foot tall lights, back on the field again. And the orientation of the lights tonight were possibly the worst they've ever been, at least from our, our property's perspective. But again, not knowing if it's Sandy or somebody else that, I should contact. One of the reasons that motivated me out the door this evening. So, I think what I would like to at least request is to confirm, what the right contact is, how to try and adjust the lights so that they're not, as intrusive as they currently are. The program stated it was for the month of November until 9 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday. I didn't know if that's truly the intent or if that's the potential scope or if there's potentially some lesser amount of use, so that would also be useful information for the neighborhood. And then if I think a formal response to our attorney would be appropriate.
Sorry, just if I missed something, let me know. First, I'm not entirely sure why you didn't get a letter or a flyer. That certainly wasn't our intent, and I apologize, and we'll figure out why that happened. And you're right that the letter should have probably stated who the appropriate contact was. It seems to me that it would be appropriate to email Sandy but copy the board. Is that correct, or would it make more sense?
I would think to copy Sandy, certainly.
Right.
I mean, sorry, to email Sandy, yes.
Email Sandy, but
Okay.
please copy us so that
Okay.
we can make sure that items are followed up on. Yeah, I mean, I think that the position of the board was that this was limited in scope. It's something that we had done 2 years ago. Certainly, the concerns of the neighbors were addressed in our view because the intent was to provide everybody with sufficient lead time notice. I don't believe that there will be as much flexibility in terms of, there's no mesh up, I know that, in terms of lowering the lights, but those are questions I need to follow up on, and because I'm not familiar with, exactly what sports are gonna be there when.
Okay.
With respect to the letter that we received from your attorney, to be completely honest, we satisfied ourselves that maybe we should have responded. Whether we should have or not, that kind of went away. I mean, the letter effectively put us in a position where it rendered the issue moot. So it didn't seem to me that I wanted to spend attorney time or board money responding to a letter that at that point was, it was a dead issue. And I tried to address that in my statement to the public. I suspect that, I think you heard tonight that the soccer association's coming back. If this board were to approve it, I assume that those issues are gonna come up again. And this board, would then respond appropriately at that time.
Yeah, okay. And, given the fact that this program is now happening, so a month of this year, an additional month is gonna be, under lights, there's nothing, to stop that. I would hope that the board would take that into consideration when considering the Westfield Soccer Association's request, because it gets to a point where when does the activity stop? There's a month now, there'll be at least 2 months probably will be the request, I assume, for the spring. Then summertime it's light anyway, so the field is in use over the summer and into the fall. And so the only downtime really is sort of December, January, February, when nobody's outside anyway. So, it does put continual pressure on the neighborhood from a quality of life perspective. And I've also separately, since I'm here, I'll just mention it, but I did reach out to Brendan the other day and asked for time on the agenda for the next facilities committee because there are some other issues unrelated to the lights, but related to Keller Stadium that I want to bring in to the facilities committee and hopefully.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that. We've
been talking about
been
this is the best
circulating it,
strategy.
so
Okay.
we know we owe you a response.
Okay, but there's more sort of that you don't know, so I want to have some time, with the committee if
It
possible.
probably makes sense for you and Brendan to talk offline, so
That's
he
fine.
has a sense of exactly what, the nature is, and then
Yep.
we can make a decision about the best way to proceed.
Yeah, okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll give you an email with my phone number and you give me a call.
Okay, great.
I was gonna speak under open public. Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah, is it about these
Yeah.
issues? Yeah, then I would just prefer that we do it now, if you don't mind.
My name is Greg Casco. I live at 434 Everson Place. For those of you that are not familiar with my street, The front doors of Lincoln School. My street is directly out the front door. I'm 2 doors down from Westfield Avenue. Before I came tonight, I did happen down Beechwood, and that's the picture I took from my car, from the front seat of my driver's seat. As a retired police officer, I can assure you that this is a safety hazard concern. I did not call the Westfield Police Department tonight, as I did last year. I wanted to come here first and talk to you. Hopefully, as neighbors, we can work this out. What I did tonight was I prepared a statement that I'd like to read just so that I don't mince my words or go off track. So bear with me. It was reported in the October 20th edition of the Westfield Leader that the Board of Education had received a letter from Warren attorney Robert Simon, representing the Kaler Neighborhood Preservation Association. Westfield Leader reporter Brian Trusdell reported that Board President Gretchen Olig said that the letter's subject matter was, quote, similar to the lawsuit filed by Mr. Casco. I want to make it clear I never filed a lawsuit. What I filed were town code summonses that any resident can file when there's a violation of town code statutes. Those summonses were filed in Westfield in 2015, and they were litigated in the Mountainside Court due to a conflict of interest in Westfield. I also want to make it clear I am not affiliated with the Kaler Neighborhood Preservation Association or any written letter that you received. I'm here as Greg Casco on my own tonight. I do not represent any of my neighbors. While I'm sure there are neighbors of mine that feel the same way as I do regarding the use of temporary lights by the Westfield Soccer Association, I'm here tonight representing myself and no one else. My wife and I purchased our home on Everson Place in 1994. Having been raised in Westfield and attending Westfield Public Schools, I'm well aware of the usage of Kaler Stadium over the past 45 years. What used to be football games on Saturday with a few soccer and lacrosse games played during their respective seasons at Kaler Stadium has now turned into basically an around-the-clock usage since the synthetic turf was installed, I believe, 10 years ago. In the past, there were rugby associations using the field. There has been an increased use of the field by PAL football. Just this past Sunday morning at 8 a.m., there were whistles blowing and people cheering at the stadium. Forget about sleeping in on a Sunday. My daughter actually woke up. She's got the front room of the house and complained. She's usually up until 12:31 a.m. on weeknights studying for her subjects at the high school. I'm anticipating that Peter Franks of the Westfield Soccer Association is going to come to this board for the third time.
Right, it probably, just to keep moving
Sure.
things along, if you want to talk about the soccer association's application, I would ask that
To
you
wait?
hold that
Okay.
until they actually make a formal presentation. If you want to talk about
The lights now?
the lights that are currently.
Sure, I'll fast forward.
Thanks.
I know that the Westfield football team is headed towards the playoffs. I think they're riding a current 20-game winning streak, which is the longest in the state right now. I know that 2 years ago, they erected lights at the field to practice for, I believe, the Linden game, because Linden has lights at their field. If I recall correctly, those lights were not the same height as what they are tonight. Tonight are way above the 15 feet that is stipulated by town code. They're using the field and the lights in the fall. When Kaler Stadium neighbors and residents are inside, the heat's on, windows are closed, and the sun goes down before 5 p.m. They're not on the field well into the evening hours, making noise and inconveniencing the neighborhood, as we've witnessed in the past with the Soccer Association. My concern right now with the lights as they are with the football team is that they're not only for the football team, it's now the soccer team. The soccer team did not use those lights 2 years ago. And I don't believe the football team was on the field past 6, 7 o'clock. I got a text message earlier that the lights had gone out tonight, I think around 7:45, 8 o'clock. I don't back up to the field, so my complaints probably are not as important maybe as, say, somebody like Mr. Lemberg or somebody that does back up to that field. However, like I said,
where is this leading us to? It was the football team's usage 2 years ago, and I get it. They're a Westfield Board of Education team. My taxes pay for that. And I have no problem with the football team using Kaler Stadium. If the lights are up for, I think, and like I said, you can go back and check, maybe Sandy knows. In 2015, they might have had them on for 2 weeks. I know it wasn't a whole month. So whether they're going to be on from now until the end of November, hopefully the football team does make it all the way through to the state playoffs. I'll be at Giant Stadium again watching them. It's exciting for the school and for the community. I will be back, I guess December, I wrote the date down.
The 6th.
Yeah, what I don't want to do, and sincerely, I do not want to have to go the legal route with this. I work hand in hand with Sandy. I'm president and treasurer of the Friends of Westfield Track. I truly want to work with this board, but we have to be neighbors, and we have to understand that, there's a little give and take. So I guess most of what I wanted to say tonight was directed towards the WSA, and I'll hold that until December, but I thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Sure, if I could just respond quickly. First of all, I think
Sure.
I've said it on record before, but I will certainly say it again. I apologize for misusing a word.
No, I
This
understand.
lawsuit. So I just want to clarify again. And then the scope of the program that's currently happening, I mean, there was a lot of conversation at this table about, was the scope appropriate? And also, I think it's important for the public to understand that it's a significant cost savings to the district if we have our student athletes practicing on our fields rather than incurring transportation costs to bus them somewhere else where they might be able to practice later into the evening.
I wouldn't expect that. I wouldn't expect that.
It's not only just the football team, but it's our other varsity teams as well. And so I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, but I am speaking on behalf of myself that was a huge motivator for me in approving this, because it's not only a cost savings, but it's allowing our student athletes to get home at a decent time and do the homework that you referred to often takes them into 12:30 a.m.
I agree 100% that we should not be paying for field usage in other towns, especially if we have the facilities available here in Westfield. And if it means putting in temporary lights temporarily, I guess the time frame is to be debated by residents. But getting back to what you had mentioned about the lawsuit word, I know that the Westfield leader sometimes likes to sensationalize things to get readership. Like I said, if you really want to dig down deep, you could use the word lawsuit. But basically, as I've stated before, 3 summonses were issued. One for the generator, which is down there tonight, one for the height of the lights, and one for the shielding of the lights. Unfortunately, the Judge DeRose, in Mountainside, lumped all 3 together when he found and accepted the Board of Health's decision that they were not violating any decibel level as far as their usage. He told me I could appeal. At that point, the lights were over with. I did not appeal. However, I can assure you that if the WSA does come back and they're looking to put these lights up over 15 feet, you're not the WSA, but I will be instituting summonses again if in fact that happens, because that's the only recourse I have. And it won't be for the use of a generator. That's been approved. But the height of the lights of 15 feet is clearly stipulated in the town code book.
Understand your position. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Anyone else? All right. Nothing else? Facilities?
No.
Right, great. Ginny, long-range planning.
Long-range planning has a committee meeting set for November 30th.
Great. Policies, Chris.
Policies will meet on November 9th and then again on November 29th. We have one item I'd like to ask the board to consider for approval. Item 1. Can I have a second? Thank you, Jenny. I'd like the board to affirm the superintendent's decision on HID incidents 17HSO1, 17E01, 17E02, and 17F01 for the reasons set forth in each of those incidents.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Lineheart,
Yes.
Ginny Lights,
Yes.
Gretchen Olich,
Yes.
Peggy Oster,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Nothing further on policies.
Great, thank you. Curriculum, instruction, and program, I'd like to ask the board to consider items 1 through 3. Can I have a second, please? Ginny, thank you. The first item is the district field trips for our review and approval. The second is the 2016-17 school nursing plan, which Dr. Dolan made reference to earlier. And then the third is second reading of the curricula, some of which we heard about from Andrea Brennan at our last meeting. Does anybody have any questions? Dana?
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Lightheart.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Olig.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Great. Finance. In Mark's absence, I'd like to ask the board to consider finance items 1 through 8. Can I have a second, please? Ginny, thank you. I'd like to call out item number 8 and accept a gift of $500 from the Westfield Coalition for the Arts to purchase a tabletop sandblaster and air compressor to benefit our crafts and fine arts students at Edison Intermediate School. So we'd like to thank the coalition for that gift. Does anybody have any finance questions on these items? Dana?
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Lightheart.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Olig.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Legislation, Brendan.
No report.
Technology, Peggy.
First, I'd like to apologize to the board. We had a meeting on Friday, and I did not have a chance over the weekend to get minutes out from the meeting. But to summarize, both Adam Peasy and Janine Gotko both attended our meeting to give us updates on technology within both the high school level and K through 8. Mr. Peasy was, very pleased with the status of where things are at the high school. 50% of our teachers are using Google Apps in classroom currently, and there are 9 teachers who are piloting the use of Chromebooks at the high school, which is also an extremely successful program. The thing that we talked most about at the high school was trying to get information out to parents to understand how their students use the internet and the computers at the high school. And we had a fairly spirited discussion as to how many of us parents would really know if we were told what our kids were doing at the high school. But we definitely realize there's a little bit of a disconnect as to where your children are in reference to their technology and where you are in understanding what they're using. But we've put it on our plate to try and get as much information out to parents and let them know how we're using technology at the high school. Janine Gotko spoke about K through 8. She talked about a couple of schools that could possibly need some equipment, so we're gonna look into that, especially at our kindergarten level. In grades 1 and 2, they're basically working on computer basics in the classrooms. In grades 3 to 5, they're doing some Google training, and it's been very helpful into the next steps of using Google in the higher grades and so forth. We were also supposed to talk about the Walls to Windows program, which I think I discussed at the last meeting, which was established 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. But both of the teachers were very excited. We talked a long time about the use of technology in the schools, so we've kind of put off that presentation to our next meeting, which I believe is November 18th. And we're also working on our goals. Where are we going to with technology in our district? How do we support it? How much money it's going to take? Where we really see ourselves going once we complete this Walls to Windows. We kind of said maybe it's going to be Walls to Cloud now. Maybe it'll be a bigger thing. So we're working on those goals, and hopefully in the next couple of meetings I'll be able to present a little bit more of the goals for the technology committee and where we see ourselves going and so forth. Jenny, do you have anything else to add?
I have 2 things. One is Adam did make a statement about the high school wireless infrastructure, and he seemed to think it was reasonably robust and consistent and available, and that was good news to hear. And then in the 1st and 2nd grade, which you were mentioning, the basic computer skill development, I've heard the first reintroduction of keyboarding skill curriculum instruction. We had gone through many years ago, keyboarding was part of the 6th grade curriculum in the intermediate schools, then it went back into 3rd grade with dedicated devices for that purpose, and now we find that since we're using Park on an online basis with computer keyboards, we have to teach the children specifically the keyboard interaction and mouse interaction, so that although they arrive with touch skills, they may not necessarily have developed good habits with keyboard typing skills. So I thought that that was an interesting kind of juxtaposition of ideas and timing. And as Peggy said, we are at the point of identifying the next strategic initiative. We're at our windows, we're at our wireless campus, and now we want to be able to understand where are we taking that. We did spend some time talking about the fact that we had made as a district, and I want to compliment the administration as well as the interaction of the committee, we had made the decision not to harness ourselves with one type of one-to-one device with our students, recognizing that the technology was moving so quickly that we needed to have an infrastructure in place that would allow us to evolve for use of many different kinds of devices over time. So that has been a very good decision and has panned out with our ability now to have a virtualized environment that will support devices that arrive, many different kinds of devices. And we also talked about the fact that I think at least within the high school environment, students are not necessarily arriving with devices that we would have thought laptops and iPads and so forth, but with the speed and the processing power of cell phones, mobile phones, that they will pretty much be the device of choice of students and in classroom interaction. I know, I think Adam was telling us that one student he observed was pretty much entering and word processing a large paper document of sorts within his cell phone. So, you know, the techniques and the interaction of students is quickly surpassing some of our own understandings about how these devices will be used and their power and their interaction. So it will be a very interesting conversation to try to figure out what we provide and keep up with professional development and instruction for teachers, so that they have comfort with a facility with presenting a classroom that is adaptable to students as they bring their devices and interact. It's a very fast-paced environment, and we're getting there. I mean, we've got the interaction and the computing power in place, and we're well suited for our off-site backup storage and our servers and our infrastructure equipment, which continually needs to be updated. So it will have a dollar impact on us for a long time, but it is the cost of providing the education that we provide. It was a good discussion.
Great, thank you. When you are at a place where you feel like it would make sense, it'd be great to present to the full board what, once you get those strategic goals, next steps.
I think, I would definitely think that's in the future for us, and, I'd love to bring Adam and Janine back because they both speak so eloquently of all the upgrades in their schools and where the kids are and the teachers and professional development and so forth. Just getting to the point where we're caught back up to speed, and I think was where we'll be for the end of this year, but so maybe in the beginning of next year.
Great.
Winter would be a good time.
Fantastic. I'd ask the board to note the notes for the record as listed on the agenda. Do we have any unfinished business? Any new business? Liaison reports. I'll just go around. Amy?
Thanks. After saying that the Special Ed Parents Committee was going to be scaling back their offerings this year, they had a presentation last week at Lincoln School at around 7:30 at 7:30, and the presentation was called "Learning Differences in Young Children," and a preschool teacher from our area, Galadriel Hasbrook, gave a really nice presentation, sort of talking about what's normal and what's not normal at what different stages for all different kinds of skill sets that you're looking for in young children. I'm not sure what the total breakout was in terms of how many of the attendees were simply parents, how many were parents and teachers, and how many were early childhood educators, but I will say, I think they gave out over 75 certificates for continuing education hours. There were a lot of early childhood educators that were there, and it was really, really neat. A lot of sort of flashing back for me, seeing my kids' preschool teachers, and even prior to that, were there, and still really active and still really eager to learn more. So it was a really great evening and really nice, and it was really nice to be able to see inside Lincoln School and to show it off a little bit. I know it's hard to get in there in the evenings, you know, like good preschoolers, it goes to bed a little earlier than some of our buildings, but it was fascinating, you know, just to be in there and see things like a little quiet corner next to the elevator where kids could sort of take a breather, you know, it was nice.
That's great, thanks.
Hi, 2 weeks ago I attended the McKinley PTO meeting, my first PTO meeting. Don't have kids, so it wasn't really all that relevant.
Before now.
Of course.
Right.
But now that I live right next to the school, I wanted to get more involved in that community. They had a very, very, very spirited debate about Halloween parties and the dietary restrictions. And because this year they decided to have a school-wide rule as opposed to classroom by classroom, so that when the kids go on the Halloween parade, they aren't trading snacks that weren't approved by their classroom teacher and all the other stuff. And since we didn't get any emails yesterday, I'm assuming their Halloween parade went off without incident.
I believe it was a good parade, yes.
And no creepy clowns hanging out around the schools.
Good to know. All right, thanks. Do you have a liaison report?
Yes, I think I attended two since the last meeting. Okay. I did attend Jefferson for Gretchen because she couldn't attend their meeting. They had their just first general membership meeting. They talked about their early programs, fundraisings, so forth and so on. At that time, the principal was not able to attend. It was a fairly short meeting, but they were excited. I hope the Friday weather, they were having their big opening picnic. That Friday weather was a little shaky, but I hope they kept it going because it did clear in the afternoon. But they're very dedicated to their students and what they're putting forth. They talked a lot about their 5th grade program and so forth, so it was a very nice meeting to attend. And then I attended Tamaulipas, and once again, I was amazed. There were probably 50 people there, and if you go to PTO meetings, 50 people is a pretty good number, and a good percentage of those were teachers who were at Tamaulipas. And one of our goals this year, our strategic goals, is resiliency in the student. And their counselor gave about a 45-minute presentation on resiliency. And it was very thought-provoking. I mean, you did go home and think about how you handle different issues in your life and so forth. So I thought it gave the parents and the teachers a good perspective of what the kids are going through, ways to handle it and so forth. And also for parents to see how teachers handle these situations. So it was very nice, and that was about it.
Great, thanks. Chris, did you have one?
Yes, it's PTO season, I guess, because I was at Franklin's PTO last Thursday, and similar to what you said, Peggy, there was a presentation by Maureen Mazaris about resiliency in our kids and coping skills. She talked about kids of all ages, but it was mostly geared towards younger kids, and certain skills they can use, or you can interact with your kids, you can use on your own to, if you think there's an issue or a problem that they're kind of not talking about directly, how you can draw it out of them in a non-threatening way. It was well attended. I would say there was about 30 or 35 people. And again, people open up surprisingly more than you would think in these things. It just kind of goes towards the issue that I think anxiety is a problem in coping with our kids, even at a young age. Kids feel stress and they feel the pressures of school, socially, academically and such. And it's something we need to be attuned to, and I think that Maureen did a good job talking about that, at least making it something that is easier to talk about and giving parents ideas as to how they might address these issues if they think their kid is undergoing something like that.
Are we videotaping some of these?
Just going to add that. I was just going to add that. We have been videotaping parts of some of the sessions, especially, not only, but especially the ones on resiliency, because we have made that as a goal this year. And this way, parents who are not able to attend the sessions can also learn from the video. So we are in the process of working on that and getting those up.
That's great.
Yeah. And that's it. It was a very good, productive session, I thought.
Great.
And I just have in both of the meetings I attended, there were 3 or 4 dads, which,
Yeah.
going back to the days when I was in PTSO, there were no dads. So it was
Yeah.
great to see both moms and dads at all of these meetings.
Yeah.
The same happened at McKinley.
Any other liaison reports? Jenny?
Yes, we need to talk about workshop.
Sure.
Rob and I were at New Jersey School Boards Association workshop. I was there limited time, 2 days. I think Rob was there for 3 days with Dr. Dolan, Barbara Ball, and Dana. I attended a workshop on tenure, the process, and have some materials that I'll be providing to Barbara on processes, and also the school law forum, talking about recent outcomes of litigations, as well as conversations about, and some, also a session on negotiations and developing salary guides.
That's great.
Maybe you have some
No,
comments.
and I'll just say that it was great. It's the first time as a board member that I attended, although I've been there in the past for other reasons. And it was great. It was like being at school again. I think I attended 4 sessions every day. And they were quite informative and very helpful, and strongly recommend board members to go in the future. It's very, very helpful.
Great, well, thank you for representing us. I have one quick liaison report. I attended the Westfield High School PTSO meeting. The student body president was there talking about Spirit Week. This is Spirit Week. I think today was Tropical Tuesday, maybe, I'm not sure. They're very excited. There's a big pep rally on Friday, I think, which is something new and different, and so there was a lot of conversation around that. Dr. Nelson was also there. Just talked about things that are happening at the high school, and one of the exciting things that I wanted to note for the board is that there is a new diversity committee at the high school. Some staff have formed this new committee. He informed the PTSO that they may get a request for funds to do some programming out of this committee. So I thought that was good, and I think that's all I have to report from the meeting.
Good.
At this point, I'd like to recognize public for questions and or comments. Seeing no one come to the podium, I'd ask the board to approve the following resolution: that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents, and that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the result of that discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second? Thank you, Ginny. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are in private. Thank you very much.